Grand Admiral Vexer of the Corinthian Empire stood before the massive holographic display in the war room. His forearms were crossed behind his back, and his scaled face showed no emotion. Around him sat the 12 members of the Supreme Military Council. They had gathered to discuss the coming invasion of a small blue planet called Earth. The humans had only achieved interstellar travel 50 years ago. They were young. They were primitive. They would be easy to conquer. That was what everyone believed until today. Intelligence Commander Threll walked into the room carrying a data crystal. His movements were slow and careful. His normally bright orange skin had turned pale yellow, which meant he was afraid. Very afraid. The other council members noticed this immediately. Threll was a veteran of 600 battles. Nothing scared him, until now. "Grand Admiral," Threll said, his voice shaking slightly, "I have completed my analysis of human military doctrine and combat history. I must present my findings before we proceed with the invasion." Vexer nodded. "Show us what you have found, Commander." "We attack in 3 days. This should be routine." Threll inserted the crystal into the display console. The holographic image changed to show the planet Earth. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It looked peaceful. It looked harmless. "This is Earth," Threll began. "Population of 12 billion humans. They have colonized 2 other planets in their solar system and established mining operations on several moons. Their technology is approximately 300 years behind our own. Their fastest ships travel at only 60% the speed of light. Their weapons are based on kinetic projectiles and primitive nuclear fusion." General Morax laughed from his seat. "This will be the easiest conquest in our history. Why do you look so troubled, Commander?" Threll did not laugh. Instead, he changed the display to show a document written in human language. The translation appeared below it. "This is their primary military doctrine manual. I have spent the last 30 days reading every piece of human military literature I could find. Their history books, their training documents, their strategic theories, their war records." Threll paused and looked around the room. "Grand Admiral, I must formally recommend that we cancel the invasion and seek immediate peaceful contact with humanity." The room erupted in shocked voices. Several admirals stood up in anger. Vexer raised one of his hands for silence. "Explain yourself, Commander." "This is an unusual recommendation." Threll took a deep breath. "Let me start with their history. Humans have been fighting wars against each other since they first evolved intelligence. They have never known a period of true peace. Not once in their entire history. They have been at war with themselves for over 10,000 years. Many species fight among themselves in their early development," Admiral Kryn said dismissively. "We did the same. This is normal." "No," Threll replied. "You do not understand. They never stopped, even after they achieved global communication. Even after they created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Even after they reached space, they kept fighting. They fight over resources. They fight over territory. They fight over ideology. They fight over religion. They fight over pride. They will find any reason to fight." The display changed to show statistics, numbers, charts. The council members leaned forward to read them. In their last 200 years alone, humans have killed over 500 million of their own kind in organized warfare. This does not include individual violence. This is only counting official military conflicts. Threll let that number sink in. 500 million dead. And they kept going. They kept building better weapons. They kept training better soldiers. They kept developing new strategies. Grand Admiral Vexer felt something cold in his stomach. The Corinthian Empire had conquered 47 species across the galaxy. Total casualties in all their wars combined were less than 200 million over 3,000 years. Humans had exceeded that number while fighting only themselves. "Show us their military doctrine," Vexer commanded. Threll changed the display again. Diagrams appeared. Strategies. Tactical formations. Battle plans. Human military doctrine is built on several core principles that I have never seen in any other species. First, they embrace what they call acceptable losses. They send their soldiers into battle knowing that many will die. Their commanders calculate expected casualties before the fighting begins and proceed anyway. The soldiers know they might die, and they go anyway. All soldiers face death, General Morax interrupted. This is not unusual. You misunderstand, Thrall said. Humans do not merely accept that some soldiers might die. They plan for it. They build their strategies around it. They have a concept called sacrifice, where soldiers deliberately give up their lives to achieve an objective. Not because they have no choice, but because they choose to die. The room became very quiet. Thrall continued. Second, humans practice what they call total war. When they truly commit to a conflict, they do not merely fight with armies. They mobilize their entire civilization. Every factory produces weapons. Every citizen contributes to the war effort. They transform their entire economy into a machine designed for one purpose: destroying their enemy. The display showed images from something called World War II. Factories producing tanks and aircraft in impossible numbers. Millions of soldiers marching. Cities burning. Mushroom clouds rising over destroyed cities. They used nuclear weapons on their own planet, Thrall said quietly. They killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in an instant. Not soldiers, civilians, women, children, the elderly. They incinerated them all to end the war faster. And their history books celebrate this as a wise decision. Admiral Krynn's face had lost its color. They killed their own species' children? Yes, and they would do it again if they believed it necessary. This is documented extensively. They debate the morality of it, but the majority consensus is that it was justified because it saved more lives in the long term. Thrall changed the display again. This brings me to my next point. Human strategic thinking is unlike anything we have encountered. A diagram appeared showing something called mutually assured destruction. During a period called the Cold War, two human nations pointed thousands of nuclear weapons at each other. Each side had enough weapons to destroy their entire planet multiple times over. The strategy was simple. If you attack me, I will destroy everything, including myself. They called this deterrence. They lived like this for 50 years. Children grew up practicing what to do if nuclear weapons fell on their cities. They built shelters. They made plans for surviving the end of their world. And they considered this normal. General Morax stood up from his seat. His legs seemed unsteady. This is insanity. Yes, Thrall agreed. By our standards, it is. But for humans, this is rational thinking. They would rather destroy everything than submit to an enemy. This is fundamental to their psychology. The display changed to show human soldiers in various conflicts throughout history. Men charging into certain death. Soldiers holding positions against overwhelming odds. Small groups fighting to the last person rather than surrendering. They have a concept they call fighting to the last man. When faced with defeat, many human military units refuse to surrender. They keep fighting until every single soldier is dead. They consider this honorable. They build monuments to soldiers who died in hopeless last stands. They teach their children to admire people who chose death over surrender. Thrall pulled up more documents, training manuals, strategy guides, military academy curricula. Their officer training programs include extensive study of what they call unconventional warfare. If their regular military is defeated, they are prepared to continue fighting through guerrilla tactics, terrorism, sabotage, and resistance movements. They have detailed plans for how to keep fighting even after being conquered. They will hide weapons. They will form secret networks. They will attack occupying forces for years, for decades, for generations if necessary. Surely they would eventually accept defeat, Vexer said. though his voice had lost its confidence. Thrall shook his head. I found records of human resistance movements that continued fighting for centuries after being conquered. They passed down their hatred to their children. They never forgive, they never forget. Conquering humans does not end the war. It merely changes the nature of the war. The display showed images of something called asymmetric warfare. Explosions, hidden attacks, soldiers who could not be distinguished from civilians. Every human civilian is a potential combatant. They will use anything as a weapon. Vehicles, chemicals, their own bodies. They have a practice called suicide bombing, where individuals deliberately kill themselves to destroy their enemies. They consider this martyrdom. Their families are proud when their children die this way. The council members looked at each other. No one spoke, but perhaps most concerning is their attitude toward defeat. Thrall continued. Humans do not see losing a battle as the end of a war. They see it as motivation to fight harder. When they suffer a devastating loss, they do not surrender. They get angry, they rebuild, they come back stronger. They have a saying, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." They believe this literally. The display showed the recovery after various human disasters. Cities rebuilt after being destroyed. Nations rising from the ashes of defeat to become more powerful than before. If we invade Earth and win the initial battles, we will not have conquered humanity. We will have motivated them. They will unite against us in ways they have never united before. Every human on every planet will become our enemy. They will dedicate their entire species to our destruction. They will not stop until they have won or until every last human is dead. Thrall turned off the display. The room was dark and silent. "There's one more thing," he said. "Humans know they are young in the galactic community. They know their technology is inferior, so they have been preparing. They have a doctrine for first contact with hostile alien species. It assumes they will lose the initial conflict. It plans for a fighting retreat. It includes strategies for stealing alien technology during combat. It outlines how to reverse engineer captured equipment. It details plans for building a war economy over decades if necessary." Thrall looked directly at Grand Admiral Vexer. "They are expecting us. Not specifically, but they know someone will come eventually. And they have decided that they will not submit. Ever. They will fight any invader until that invader is destroyed or until humanity no longer exists. There is no middle ground. There is no negotiation. There is only victory or extinction." Vexer sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "What is your recommendation, Commander?" "Send a diplomatic ship. Offer friendship. Trade with them. Help them advance. Make them our allies." Thrall's voice was firm. "Because the alternative is a war that will never end. We might win at first. We might even conquer their planets. But we will never have peace. They will fight us forever. They will eventually learn our technology. They will eventually match our capabilities. And when that day comes, they will remember everything we did to them. And if they refuse diplomacy?" Thrall paused. "Then we leave them alone. We draw a line around their space, and we never cross it. We pretend they do not exist, because any other option leads to our destruction." The vote was unanimous. The invasion was cancelled. The diplomatic ship left the next day. It carried a message of peace and an offer of friendship. The humans, surprisingly, accepted. But they never stopped preparing for war. They never reduced their military. They never stopped training. Because humans understood something that other species had to learn the hard way. Peace was not the absence of war. Peace was being too dangerous to attack. And humanity intended to become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Just in case.